With all the, that'll pick it out?
Yeah.
Okay, my name is John Schaffner. I was a member of the 589th Field Artillery Battalion, A Battery, B Battery for a short time, then back into A Battery.
Okay. How old were you when you were, did you get drafted or enlisted?
Yeah, I was an 18-year-old draftee. I graduated from high school 2 weeks and I was in the Army.
Did you agree to go? I mean, even though you were drafted, but did you agree to go to war? Were you?
Oh yeah.
I mean, were you a real patriot? Like, all right, you know, I was drafted. I'm going to war. I mean, is it? Was it?
We're talking about the beginning of 1943. I graduated in February of 1943, and at that time the war was in full swing, and everybody was behind the effort. I mean, it was 100% supported by everyone, and young guys that did not get in the service were classified 4F or for whatever reason, they were looked down on. And all the boys in my neighborhood, you know, were signing up to go somewhere. When I was drafted, I just turned 18, and at that time, the draft was in control. You really didn't have a choice of where you wanted to go. So when I was inducted at Fort Meade, and when I was interviewed, I was asked, do I want to go into Army, Navy, Marines?
Yeah.
I said, well, I'd go in the Navy. Some of my friends are in the Navy. The guy says, no, you can't go in the Navy. Our quota's full for the Navy. Got to put you in the Army. I said, well, okay, in the Army. But then I went through the physical, and I was wearing glasses, and the person in charge there stamped my papers limited service. He says, put you in the Army, but you're going to have limited service because you're wearing glasses. So they put me in a group going to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and I wound up in the infantry, in the artillery battalion, and was trained as a scout and forward observer. Classes. So limited service didn't mean a thing.
Okay.
Didn't mean a thing. We trained at Fort Jackson during the summer and fall of 1943, and in January of '44 we transported over to Tennessee maneuver area. We spent January, February, and March in the Tennessee mountains on maneuvers, learning to live in the outdoors.
Yeah.
When we left Tennessee maneuver area and went to Camp Atterbury at the end of March, and when I heard we were going to Indiana, I thought, oh boy, that's a neat place. I heard all these songs about Indiana, down on the Wabash and all this, that's going to be swell. Well, when we pulled into Camp Atterbury, it was about 28 degrees and the wind was strong enough to blow your mustache off. Ooh. Wow, is this Indiana? Well, we trained further at Indiana, trained with live ammunition, and we were considered a crack outfit in a couple of months. We were ready to go overseas. But this was around June of '44, which D-Day came along, and the invasion forces were taking a lot of casualties. So the powers that be decided to transfer about half of our division, trained people, to go to Europe as replacements for those casualties. So we were left with about half of division trained, and then they filled us in with replacements from units that were no longer considered essential, like Coast Artillery, the SDP program, which was college, Aircraft Cadet programs winding down. We got a lot of those fellows to fill in as infantry.
Oh, okay.
So by the time we were ready to ship out, about half of our division was only half trained. But we went anyway, and you don't have any choice. So they sent us to Camp Miles Standish in Massachusetts before we were to go overseas, where we went through our final physicals, equipment transfers, and that sort of thing. And when that was all done, we boarded the ship in Boston. It was the U.S. Coast Guard ship Wakefield, which as a civilian liner had been the liner Manhattan, an excursion liner. This was end of October. We departed Boston in bad weather, took the northern route across the Atlantic where everybody was seasick. The ship was bouncing up and down. Waves crashed over the deck and nobody could go out. The trip took about 5 days, as I recall, maybe 6 or 7. It's hard to pin down exactly. But anyway, we arrived safely and landed in Liverpool. Landed in Liverpool at night, and it was nighttime by the time we got off, and the weather was cold and wet and foggy. And the troops came off the ship down the gangplank by twos. And we walked up through the streets of Liverpool. Nobody around. It looked like a scene from a Sherlock Holmes movie. Boarded trains at Liverpool and transported to Gloucester. At Gloucester, we occupied barracks there that were for the British Army, but I think they might have been built for King Arthur. They had double bunks with straw mattresses, and at nighttime when the fog rolled in and the blackout conditions, you went outside the building, you were totally lost because you literally could not see the hand in front of your face.
Wow.
It was that dark.
That dark.
We were there into November when and we got all of our equipment lined up, and at the end of November, the dates escape me, but it was probably November 30th or December 1st in that area. We drove to Weymouth and boarded LSTs. The LSTs departed Weymouth and we cruised around the English Channel for about 2 days, finally arriving at Bahar. And when we got there, it was many ships waiting to go up the Seine River. They were all circling around, and it was like circus elephants. They finally got in line to go up the river. It was one behind the other. And it was there that we first saw the results of the war in England, or in Europe, because the dock areas around Bahar were destroyed by bombing. Everything was blown up. It was total rubble. But anyway, we proceeded up the Rhine to Rouen, France. And at Rouen, we disembarked from the LSTs and drove up into Germany, which took several days. Nowadays, you can do it in a couple hours.
But then,
But moving the whole division took several days. The weather was really cold. A lot of snow flurries and that sort of thing, and we were driving open vehicles. I was driving a Jeep at the time, and I won't say my feet were frozen, but I couldn't feel them. And shifting gears was a job. I pushed down on my knee to make the accelerator go down. These Jeeps didn't have windshield wipers. They had a wiper up there with a handle on it, and you had to reach up and twist your wrist to wipe the windshield. Just little things. But after a couple of days of this, we wound up
Pretty good, thank you. Pretty good.
in Germany, just inside the border, near a place called Herzfeld, where the battery went into position. It was a quiet front, supposedly. No action. We had the infantry out in front of us. I wasn't a bit worried.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I asked that somebody
Well, we were there several days, and nothing really did happen until the morning of the 16th. I was on an outpost position for the 50 caliber machine gun, and the German artillery barrage began. It seemed like it lasted forever, but it actually was only for about a half hour. I think that we were under a bombardment. But miraculously, nobody in our unit was injured. I guess it was probably because we were well dug in. We had taken over positions that the 2nd Division had prepared.
Yeah.
They were there prior to us. And we were pretty well protected. Well, we did see some action that day and the next. The Germans attacked up the road from Al with armored vehicles, and we managed to knock them out. And we drove the infantry, the German infantry back, and we were able early the next morning to extricate our guns from that position. With the exception of one battery, the battery was in a position where they could not get out, and the Germans had infiltrated around them, and they were pretty much captured intact.
Okay.
So after that first attack, we came out of that position with 2 batteries instead of 3. We were then ordered to place the guns in another position on the road from Al to Schoenberg. And this is a little narrow road with a stream on one side, the Aaron Brook, and wooded areas on the other side of the road. Not much room to maneuver. But we were ordered off the road there to set the guns up, and before we had time to do that, we were under attack again. We were ordered to pull out of there, and A battery got out, but B battery had to abandon their guns. There was no way we could get them back on the road. For the next 2 days, we just moved around from one point to another, and for the most part, I was in the back of a truck when we traveled, and I had no idea where we were going. Not at all. Didn't know if we were in Germany, Belgium.
Yeah.
Well, we finally wound up at a place called Barak de Freitor. By this time we had only about 100 men, and we were down to 3 howitzers. The group was under the command of Major Colonel Parker, and he ordered us to set up a roadblock at this intersection. We placed the 3 howitzers to cover the roads that we thought where the attack would come from. During that day and the next, we were joined by other troops from other units. There was 3 half-tracks mounting Quad 50s from an anti-aircraft unit. There was several people from other units that had machine guns with them. We set up a perimeter defense. During the night of December the 19th and 20th, I was detailed to man an outpost on the road to Hooper. Had a foxhole about 400 or 500 yards down the road from the crossroads, and everything was really quiet. About midnight, we were approached by a German patrol, about a dozen German soldiers who were riding bicycles. We had placed a daisy chain of mines across the road, and when they reached that, they stopped and stood there, probably talking over what to do next. And I got on the telephone, we had a field telephone down there, and told Captain Brown that the Germans were in the road. And he said, well, keep your head down, and we'll sweep the road with the 50s. And I kept my head down, and they opened up with all this firepower, and took care of that German patrol. He had given me orders when the firing stopped to come back to the command post. So that's exactly what I did. Went back to the command post. And for the next couple days, I was in foxholes around this crossroads. We were attacked on several different occasions by the Germans, but we always managed to drive them back. Until the 23rd, when they attacked in force with armor and heavy guns and literally blew away the crossroads. A lot of the guys were captured there. I managed to escape. And I joined up with some 82nd Airborne guys who were living in the woods near us. So I was out of a hot spot. During the next day after that, I more or less wandered around, and I kept looking for anybody from the 106th Division units, and finally did find some. Had a weapons carrier there that was full of duffel bags, and fortunately my duffel bag was in that weapons carrier, so I managed to change my socks. That was the first time I'd take my shoes off, I guess, in a week. So, the 589th no longer existed. So I found the 592nd Field Artillery Battalion, which was 155s, and they accepted me as a member of their unit, and I served out the rest of the war with them in the fire direction control and supported the railroad on several occasions. I didn't consider myself in any real danger at that time. And sometime, I guess it was around May, right at the time the Germans surrendered, we pulled back out of the line, and the division was reconstituted with replacement. And 589th was reorganized, and I wound up back in my original unit, 589th. A couple of humorous incidents happened. I might relate. We were in a training status, and we were ordered. The unit was ordered out onto a firing range to practice artillery.
Yeah.
And for some reason I didn't go. I don't remember why. But anyway, during the day, the battery commander told me to go down to the motor pool, get a PMC truck with the driver, go to the prisoner of war pen where we had a lot of German prisoners, get a truckload of German prisoners and go out to where they're firing artillery for them to dig a latrine trench or do whatever else, whatever dirty detail they had. He says, here's where it is. And he gave me a little piece of paper. Get down this road, turn here, turn there, so on. I didn't recognize it, but anyway, went over to the motor pool, got a truck and a driver, and I said to the driver, take a look at this, see, know where this is? The driver says, oh sure, I know where that is. Oh, I see. Okay, let's go. So we picked up a truckload of German prisoners. We started down the road and finally got to where the driver said, well, we're getting close. I think we go up this lane here. So it was like a logging trail. We went down through the woods and then through a little village. And the little village was rubble.
Yeah.
Had a curve in the road there, and we went on up the hill, and we could hear the artillery firing. I said, well, we must be getting close. And we got up in the woods a ways, and all of a sudden, about 4 rounds hit no further than a couple hundred yards away. Wham, 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 wham. We were on the wrong end of the firing range. The driver says, let's get the hell out of here. He slammed the truck in reverse. He backed up into the trees, knocking little trees down. Got it turned around. We started down the lane, come out of the woods to where that little village had been, and there was a stone wall on the side of the road. And we were going so fast, and we were never going to make that curve, and that truck hit that end of that stone wall, and rocks flew everywhere. And when it stopped, we were sitting up in the air, all 10 wheels off the ground. Everything else was running, but he put it in gear and it was just going, wah, 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 wah. Okay, let's get out. Got all the prisoners out of the truck, put them to work tearing the wall down and building it up on the wheels. That took a while. Finally we got to where we could back it off.
Yeah.
Went on back down to the prisoner of war pen, unloaded the prisoners, put them back in the pen, went back to the motor pool, turned the truck and the driver in, went back to the battery commander, and I says, mission accomplished, sir. Okay. And I never heard anything more about it. But, you know, being there and being in woods, it's not all hard. We did have some fun.
Yeah, but I just can't imagine what it must have been like.
We did have some fun. A lot of things happened, you know, it would take all day to tell them, if I could remember. But we went into occupation when the war was over and occupied some little villages in Germany. And then, I guess it was around July, the division took over the administration of the German POW camps. I didn't get involved in that. I was in a little town, and I got orders the 1st of August, 1945, to be transferred to the 104th Division, which was in San Luis Obispo, California.
Yeah.
Training for the assault on Japan. So a bunch of us got on a 40 and 8 train, headed back toward Le Havre, and they had a lot of camps at Le Havre where they were transitioning men. We were there on August the 14th when the Japs surrendered. So that was a good feeling. But still being assigned to California, we proceeded, went to England, were there about 2 weeks, and then boarded the Queen Elizabeth. Had 14,854 tons. And came to the States across the Atlantic. It was smooth as glass, just like a pond. And the ship just churned on ahead. I think we made it in like 3.5 days.
Wow.
unloaded in the States, and we were all sent to respective camps near our home. I went to Fort Meade and was given 45 days leave. At the end of the 45 days, we all had to report back to Fort Meade. Got on a troop train, went all the way to California, reported into San Luis Obispo. We hung around there until our number rolled up for discharge. And discharged in San Luis Obispo. And got a travel train all the way back to Baltimore, cross country. And I think they gave us 5 cents a mile traveling pay. That was the end of my Army career.
Wow.
In a nutshell.
That's great.